Welcome to Unlearning with Laura, the podcast where you get to rewire your mind, reclaim your power, and break generational cycles. I'm Laura Stiles, clinical hypnotherapist and mindset coach, and founder of The Mindful Generation, the place where parents come to transform their lives and live with more purpose and freedom. Let's dive in. This episode is brought to you by Carrie, a screen-free voice messaging device designed for families who want connection, safety and independence without giving children a smartphone. As conscious parents, we know smartphones are powerful tools, but they also come with pressure, distraction and risks that developing brains simply aren't built for. Carrie, spelt Karri, offers an awesome alternative, allowing children to stay connected with the people who matter most, while protecting their emotional well-being and their childhood. You can take advantage of 15% off the Messenger One device. Just use code MindfulGen15 at the checkout. Check the link in the show notes to find out more. But for now, let's tune in. Hello, how are you? I hope all is good. If you have kids at school and you are just in that last push of the term, I really hope that everything is going smoothly. I hope that no sickness bugs have gotten the better of you. Oh my goodness, that's definitely going round at the moment. And I really hope that the juggle of everything like sports days, trips and all sorts of things that are thrown our way are not sending you into stress spirals, because it's very real at the minute. The stress is real and nervous systems are getting dysregulated. Kids are hot and bothered. Mums are just over it. So yeah, I hope you're keeping well. And today I'm going to do something a little bit different. It's a solo episode and I wanted to make it a practical episode. I wanted to offer some value for something that I feel might be helpful. And I was having a little think. I'm actually in Manchester at the moment with work, and I wanted to create something that felt really helpful that you can potentially do for yourself around your mindset and rewiring your brain. So I'm really excited about this because what I'm going to share with you today is something that I wish someone had broken down for me years and years ago before I learned anything about hypnotherapy. And essentially what I'm going to do is walk you through how to create your very own self-hypnosis audio. And you're going to learn how to do this from scratch in your own voice for free. So you don't need any fancy equipment, you don't need a studio, you don't really need tech skills for this, but the power is going to be in listening to your own voice and using your own language, which therefore means using words that resonate, and essentially just giving you the empowerment and autonomy to create something that's just for you, because you actually don't need me. You don't need a hypnotherapist to create something that's specific to you to go into hypnosis. You have everything that you need inside you already. And today I'm going to show you how to use it. So before we get into the how, let me briefly explain the why and the understanding of the science behind what makes self-hypnosis so much more powerful. When you go into hypnosis, whether it's guided by someone or whether it's just by yourself, your brainwaves shift and you move out of the busy analytical beta state that you're in right now as you're listening to this, and your brainwaves go into alpha and theta waves. Now, that is where you are deeply relaxed, receptive, and where your subconscious mind becomes much more open to new information. And if you've been here a while, you will know all of this. But what's important is that in that state, the real lasting change happens. So it's not at the surface level of willpower and just trying harder, but it's the deep down where your patterns, beliefs and behaviours actually live. Your conscious mind is the critic, and in hypnosis, that critical filter completely softens and the suggestions that you give yourself go straight in. This is why listening to your own self-hypnosis audio repeatedly over time is one of the most powerful personal development tools that exists, and it's completely free, so win-win. So step one is going to be to get clear on your goal. So you can either pause this or have a little think in your own time after this about what is the goal that you would like to achieve, because we're going to focus on one thing here. The biggest mistake that people make when creating a self-hypnosis audio is trying to fix everything at once. I don't advise doing that. I advise just picking one thing, one outcome, one decent shift that you want to make. And it's going to be more powerful that way. So whether it's trying to just simply be more patient with your children, trying to achieve better sleep, more confidence, releasing anxiety, getting out of victim mode and inviting in abundance, just one of those topics could be totally cool for this self-hypnosis. So start by just having a think about what that one outcome is and write it down. But you want to be talking about it and perceiving it as if it's already happened. So you're not going to be saying, I want to stop shouting, but instead it would be, I respond to my children with calm and presence. And think of the 3 Ps. So I've got the 3 Ps that is like my North Star, which is present tense, positive, and personal. So keep it in the present tense. Use I am kind of affirmations. So I am calm and I am sleeping well. And think about how you want it to be worded and use your own language and the way that you speak so it doesn't sound too alien to you. Keep it positive. Don't use negative terminology and just ensure that it's so personal to you. So step 2 would then be to work around that goal and start to write a script for yourself. Self-hypnosis has 4 parts and it's like a beautiful journey. I often say to my clients, we're going to take you on a hypnotic journey and it's going to be like a sleep story that you're listening to as you fall asleep. And you may feel like you've even fallen asleep. You may come to and think, well, I didn't remember any of that, but it's always going into your subconscious. So the 4 parts of your script will be the induction, that's the first part, the deepener, the suggestions or the change script, and the emergence, which is sometimes called the awakener. You don't always need an awakener. If you're going to be listening to this before you go to bed at night, I often give my clients the option to remove the awakener. So you don't actually need that one. Totally your call. But we'll start with part 1, the induction. So this is where you guide yourself into a relaxed state and you essentially can use different modalities to do that. You can use a simple breathing technique, which is just guiding yourself to take 3 deep breaths and allowing yourself to let each one out slowly. You could do a body scan, so allowing your mind to take yourself on a little bit of a journey, moving from the top of your head all the way down to your toes and literally acknowledging every single body part on the way down and breathing into each part of your body, releasing tension as you go. It's a really lovely way to just get into that kind of mind-body connection and allow yourself to step into absolute mindfulness and connect to your senses and your body. The key is to keep it slow, keep it spacious. This part of the script should take at least 2 to 3 minutes, but don't rush it. It can take longer than that. And just remember that you can't force relaxation by speeding up. Just, if in doubt, go as slow as you want to go, just to allow yourself to really get into that relaxed state. The key and the goal here is allowing yourself to fully relax, to get out of your head and to just connect to your body. Then you've got part 2, which is the deepener. So once you're relaxed, you then need to really deepen into that state of relaxation. So you might imagine yourself walking down a staircase or walking down a path into a beautiful garden or a meadow or a sandy path on a beach. Sometimes I like to use drifting into a peaceful spa area. I've used cloud analogies and like drifting on a cloud into this down in the sky, but the key is like down. So going downwards rather than upwards, because we associate deepening with lowering and gradually dropping. And sometimes I will use words around, allowing yourself to melt into your mattress and, just think of like really juicy, soothing, relaxing and comforting words that get you to deeply deepen the relaxation. And you can then count from 10 to 1 to really deepen it. And that's the key to getting your subconscious to switch on and to allow your conscious mind to then switch off. And counting from 10 to 1 is telling yourself with each number that you are going deeper and feeling more and more relaxed. This is where your subconscious really starts to open up. You can get really creative with this. It doesn't have to be any of the examples I've just used. You can literally think of, I don't know, perhaps being in a submarine and going deeper into the ocean where it's just absolutely silent. And, I've used ones in space before where you're just looking at the stars and it's deeply relaxing. This is the fun bit where you can get really creative and you can create something that it could feel like a little holiday for your mind. And then you have part 3, and that is the change that you want to make. So the suggestion part of the script. This is the heart of the script. So speak to yourself in the present tense. And if you're going to be doing that for one part of the script, you should do that for all of it so that it's all matching. And speak as if the change has already happened. And I would advise using sensory language. So, think about what you can see, hear, feel in this new version of your life. You can use metaphor and imagery where you can. And just remember that your subconscious mind responds to pictures and stories far more powerfully than it does to instructions. If you are a really visual person, then that point is even more important. Like, I'm very visual and I love taking myself on like a really lovely journey, and it might be like a beach somewhere, and I like to create details in my mind as well. So when I do my own self-hypnosis, I really like to create a detailed image of what is surrounding me. So I might say, and there's a lovely, beautiful blue-coloured hummingbird just over to the left in the bush. And there is, I'll go into detail because that's just how my mind works. I've got quite an analytical mind. I don't always do that with my clients. It all depends on their sensory preferences and how their mind operates. And that's why when I do an assessment, I really am listening to the way that my clients speak and their language, their nonverbal communication, and I'm taking in and soaking up how they like to be communicated to and what their preferences are. So just have a think about what you want to see, hear, and creating a metaphor can be a really fun thing to put together as well. You can, again, get creative and have fun with it. A tip that I also love is to write your script like you're speaking to someone you deeply care about, because you actually are. Like, just think about what you really want to get out of this and pour so much love into that script. Allow it to just feel really empowering and liberating and just powerful for you. You can really go to town with it if you allow your mind to kind of wander with it. Part 4 is the awakener or the emergence. So bringing yourself back. If you're going to be listening to this audio in the daytime or perhaps not before you go to sleep at night, then this is a bit of a must-have. So all it is, it's allowing your mind to come out of the theta state and bring you back into the present. So you're just counting from 1 to 5, and with each number, telling yourself that you're becoming more alert, more present, more yourself. And at number 5, you can say something along the lines of eyes open, feeling refreshed, feeling calm, or eyes open, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. Like, it's a really good way to just get your brain back on again. And what I find fascinating about the audios that I listen to with an awakener at the end is if I do listen at night before I go to sleep, I often go into a really deep trance, don't hear any of it, don't remember any of it, have no idea what's been said, but I will always come to when I hear the voice that says 5, wide awake, because my conscious mind then just steps back in. And it's really clever because a few times I've listened to the awakener and I've kind of almost jump-started myself and become really alert, opened my eyes straight away, and I've seen a visual on the wall, and that visual will relate to something that was included in the hypnosis audio. And it's like I can see it and I think it's real, but after about 10 seconds or so, it just disappears. And it's happened to me a few times. It's so clever. This is the power of our unconscious mind, guys. It's so cool. So yes, add the awakener if you know that you're going to perhaps listen to this at different parts of the day. The reason it's important to include it is because I'll give you an example. I have listened to a hypnotic audio just before the school pickup at, say, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And on days where I'm really, really tired, if the awakener isn't included at the end of the audio, I will just fall asleep and then have a really long nap and miss the school run. So I think it's very important if you're going to be listening to the audio at various different times. Now, the next stage is to record it. So this is the bit where people might overthink or they just don't find the time to ever do it. And that's absolutely fine. That's what I'm here for. But obviously, if you want to just have a free solution and create your own hypnosis, then this should help you. So you don't need a professional microphone or a studio. Your phone is absolutely fine. My advice would be to just use the voice memo on your phone. If you have an iPhone, you've got the voice memo app. If you have an Android, there'll be something similar. I know on iPhone, if you do record on that, you can then click on an option within the settings to enhance the recording to make it sound a little bit more professional. It's not going to be studio quality, but it surprisingly can make it quite a decent quality audio. And I would say just find a nice quiet room. So whether that is doing it under the duvet in a room that's really quiet so that like the fabric absorbs any echo, or whether you have like a wardrobe full of clothes where you can hide away and record, that would be cool. But obviously, you know, you're a busy person. You might not want to go and hide in a wardrobe, or maybe you do. Maybe you want to escape your kids. So it could be a good shout. But essentially, all you want to be doing is simply reading your script out loud into the voice memo of your phone. A few things that could make the recording more effective are speak about 25% slower than you normally would. So a hypnotic voice is calm, it's measured, and it's unhurried. And if you think that you're going too slowly, you're probably going just right. I would advise on pausing often. Silence in hypnosis is powerful, and those gaps are where your subconscious absorbs what you've said. So don't be afraid of long pauses. One of my pet peeves actually is listening to a meditation or a hypnosis audio, if it's a guided one where I'm meant to be following suggestions or guidance on where I want my thoughts to go. I really hate it when it feels rushed. So yeah, pauses, slowness, that's all good stuff. I would advise on staying warm and conversational. You know, you don't have to perform or anything like that, but just speak in a way that feels good for you. So if you listen to meditations or sleep stories or anything like that, just think about how, like the ones that are your favourites and how they sound and their voices and their tone, and just try and adopt something similar. One thing to note, if you do use the voice memo app on your phone, there is an option to edit on there. So if you are speaking into the app and you mess it up or you want to re-record, there is the option to re-record over it and edit. So yeah, I just thought I'd mention that because it's just popped into my memory. What else? You could try another free app. You could try GarageBand on your iPhone. You could try Audacity on a laptop. Just have a little play around. Ask ChatGPT if you really want to, like what free audio recording apps would be good for a basic audio, and just re-record if you need to. Don't worry if, you know, you're stumbling over words and umming and ahhing. It doesn't need to be perfect, but you can just have a little play around with it if you have time. I'm going to be honest, it was the bane of my life trying to find a decent audio software when I started using hypnotherapy audios more and more in my work. And I used to find it really frustrating because the perfectionist in me, the recovering perfectionist in me, was so obsessed with just having it studio quality. I hated anything sounding terrible. And I think that just comes down to the way that I like to listen to things. So I don't like it if I listen to an audio and there's any kind of background noise that's not meant to be there. I don't mind background, you know, music or waves or nice nature sounds. But if there's like someone just recording it in their home and a bang in the background or whatever, like that will instantly put me off. I like decent audios that are good quality, but that's just down to my own sensory preferences. If there's too much audio noise, even in real life, if the kids are screaming, the TV's on, someone else is speaking, the cat's meowing, I find lots of different audio sounds all at once very overstimulating, and it really stresses me out. So it's just one of my little quirks, but you might be completely different. And also, this is just a free, make it fun, like make it just a little experiment almost. You're creating yourself something free that could potentially change your life, change your habits, rewire your brain. So just have fun with it is my advice. And step 4 is background music. So again, I personally do like a little bit of gentle sound in the background that's nice and quiet, that you can just hear below the sound of a voice. It's optional, but personally, I believe it does enhance the experience. If there is a soft ambient background track, then I would say add it on. If it's like slow and gentle, it will basically help signal to your brain that it's time to drop in. It will remind your nervous system and your brain to fully relax. And there are some royalty-free music tracks on YouTube or Spotify, specifically for meditation and hypnosis. You can also use GarageBand to find something else. Like, I've not really used that. I've not really got on with it, but you might easily find something on there and layer it underneath your voice. When you test the voice versus audio backing track, I would say do that with headphones on, just to get a sense as to how it's going to sound when you do listen to the audio through headphones, because personally, I think it's better listening through headphones if you can. And some people also like to use binaural beats. So instead of a background sound or song or nature sounds, you can just find some binaural beats, and they are essentially two slightly different frequencies played in each ear that creates like a third perceived beat, and it helps to ease the brain into a theta state. So essentially you can go into the deep, relaxed hypnotic state faster, sometimes with the binaural beats. You do need headphones for those to actually work, because you will have a different beat coming through your left and your right ear. They can be a really lovely addition if you want to go deeper. So yeah, again, it depends on how technical you are as well. If you're into tech stuff and you want to play around, it can be quite fun. Step 5, listen to it. Just listen consistently. And this is obviously the most important step of all, and the one that people often skip. You'd be surprised at how many people may even pay for a hypnosis and just forget to listen, or haven't prioritized it, or whatever. So your subconscious mind obviously learns through repetition. You are not going to rewire those neural pathways if you don't have the repetition, aka if you don't listen to it. 1 listen is like planting a seed. 25 listens is like giving it a root system. I always recommend listening to a self-hypnosis audio for a minimum of 21 days, ideally 30 days or longer if you want to. And again, listening before you fall asleep is fantastic. That's when your brain is already moving naturally into that hypnotic state between awake and asleep time. Your conscious mind is tired. It's perfect. Your subconscious mind is wide open during that window. And again, it's similarly very, very effective when you first wake up in the morning. So that's another good time to do it. I often wake up at the weekends. If Adam gets up and goes downstairs with the kids and does their breakfast, that'll be my time to listen on a Saturday or Sunday morning. And it's so relaxing and so lovely. So remember, if your mind wanders, if you are thinking about your to-do list and lots of other things whilst you're listening to your own audio, that doesn't matter, because your subconscious is always listening. So that's one question that comes up quite a lot is, oh, but I just can't focus on the words. That's fine. Don't worry about the words. It is always going in, and your subconscious essentially never switches off. It's always listening. My final note would be just to remind you of common mistakes to avoid and things to watch out for. So again, don't try and cover too many goals in one audio. Just focus on one particular outcome that you want to achieve. Don't use the negative language. Your subconscious doesn't process the word don't very well. Always frame suggestions positively. I wouldn't mix tenses either. Stay in the present. So I am rather than I will be. Your subconscious responds to what is, not what might be one day. And don't give up after a few listens and decide it's not working. The subconscious is patient, give it time. The best thing to do is just include it into your bedtime routine. Just say to yourself, I'm going to listen to this audio every night or every other night, and that's part of my bedtime routine now. So I think that is everything. I hope I've covered everything. I want to just let you know that creating your own self-hypnosis audio is one of the most loving and empowering things that you can do for yourself. It's essentially you taking your own healing into your own hands. And I personally believe that if you are able to speak to the deepest part of yourself with kindness and intention, then that is a wonderful thing. If you're not sure where to start, I would just say start small. Just set a goal of recording a 5-minute audio. Even that will be beneficial. Just get yourself practicing, and you could perhaps just make it a 5-minute sort of tester, like a taster meditation or something like that. The power of listening to your own voice is something to not be underestimated. Just test it out for 5 minutes. See how you go. If you absolutely hate it and you find it a faff and it's taking too long and you're like, oh, fucking hell, this is a waste of time, don't worry about it. Just stop. Don't create any extra stress. If it's not for you, that's cool. And you always have the option of getting in contact with me if you do want your own bespoke audio created just for you. If you do try this, I would absolutely love to hear how you get on. Come and find me on Instagram if you're not following me already. I'm at The Mindful Generation, and just let me know. Or you can drop me an email. I'm Laura at mindful-generation.com. And that's it from me. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. Please share this episode with a friend or anyone else who you think needs it. If you are listening to this thinking, do you know what, I'm actually quite curious as to how I can get some deeper support longer term, check the show notes. I will share the links to all of the ways that you can work with me. I've got 3 offerings. One is a power hour, one is a 4-week program, and one is a 12-week program. I will explain a bit more in the show notes, but essentially that's where the deeper, more transformative, really long-lasting change gets to be your reality. So have a little look at that if you want to find out more. And this is the penultimate episode for this summer. I have got one more episode coming in July, and then I'm taking a break for a few months for the podcast, which does fill me with sadness, but I intend to take off some time to really connect with my boys over the summer and to focus on my clients and just to really prioritise balance, just to make sure that I'm not teetering on the edge of too much busyness because, you know, obviously I talk about stress levels and burnout quite a lot. I want to have a summer where I feel very well rested and like I'm having a lot of fun. So the podcast is going to go on the back burner for a little while. And I did mention this on my Instagram stories recently, but if you missed it, just to let you know, yes, as I said, will be another episode on the 31st of July. I will then take a break and it will probably be back around November time. So that's it. Thank you again for tuning in, and I will catch up with you next time. Bye.